Hi, this is Bert, and welcome to Bert To The Bone. This is an additional notice. During the 2-hour recording, we found out that there were technical problems with the video recordings, and we decided not to re-record the podcast in order to keep it as authentic as possible. We have decided to make 2 episodes, and the one you're going to listening now is episode number 1. The episode is audio only. The second episode does include video and audio. So, we are very sorry for the inconvenience and enjoy the first part together with Eric aka Sapo, official founder, OG, and coach of SYG.
SYG, just the name, it's a metaphor for something else. The words, the letters, doesn't really mean anything. When you see that logo, when you see the old logo, when you see the new logo, that's a metaphor for a spirit. It's a metaphor for an energy. It's not like a literal meaning.
Welcome to Bert To The Bone. Today my guest, well, I can say my friend, I can say my colleague, I can say everything. I mean, it's Eric Chang, aka Sapo. Eric, my friend, how you doing?
Thank you, Bert. I'm doing good. Glad to be here. Been looking forward to this for the whole week, and just looking forward to having some good conversation.
Yeah, it's I mean, to disappoint some people, what we're not going to do, we're not going to talk about all those things that were in the last year. What we're going to do is what we're going to do in the next coming year. But for the most important thing is, I think 90% of the people who are listening now in this moment knows who are Eric Chang, who is Sapo. But I think the biggest people don't know who is Eric. And luckily, I know a little bit more. I don't know enough, a lot of Eric. So I hope to learn a little bit more. But please introduce yourself a little bit to the people who doesn't know, who lived under a rock, who doesn't know Sapo. So,
so for those of you in the airsoft world know me as Sapo. Everybody else knows me as Eric. I guess most of the time people tell you where they're from, but I consider myself from a lot of places. I'm from New York. I'm from LA. And I also identify very heavily with my parents are from, and that's Taiwan, specifically Taipei City.
It's did it hurt New York?
Yeah, I lived in New York for most of my childhood.
Oh, so actually you were born in New York?
No. It's a long story. Like, I was born in California.
Yeah.
And I lived in a town called Los Alamitos. It's a small city in North Orange County on the border of Orange County and Los Angeles. I lived there for 5 years and then I ended up moving to New York. I lived in Queens, New York for 5 years. A small city called Forest Hills. And then after that, I ended up moving back to California. And I lived in multiple places in California, but I ended up moving back to my original neighborhood, the house where I grew up in. It's a really long story. Like, I've kind of lived all over California, Orange County, Los Angeles County. I lived in San Gabriel Valley. So it's hard for me to say exactly where I'm from, because I'm from a bunch of places.
That's the first thing already that I didn't know, that you actually lived in New York, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
a big part of my life, even though it's very small. Now that I'm older, it's a very small part of my life, but it's a very big part of who I am today and why I became who I am.
So you're from Brea now in this moment. You're still living in Brea, or you're not from Brea?
Oh, I'm not from Brea at all. I'm actually I'm from I live in the San Gabriel Valley now, in the Pasadena area. So it's kind of like, even that city, a lot of my relatives live there. So I have like a little bit of a background in that area as well. So it's funny how, like, I kind of ended up after I moved back from New York, I ended up moving to some relatives' homes in the area that I live in now. And then I ended up going back to Orange County and then moving back to San Gabriel Valley because I went out to design school, college in Pasadena. I ended up staying here ever since. So now I've pretty much been here for a really long time now, maybe more than 20 years now at this point.
It's I mean, we all know that you're actually coming from a world, a designer world, and something like that. And did you already finish the Gundam wing?
The Gundam wing. Oh, the model kit. So yeah, model kits. Very. I grew up building model kits. It was kind of like something my both of my parents were very encouraging of me doing that for some reason. I don't know why. And it's just a big part of my childhood. So like maybe that had something to do with me and my ability to think three-dimensionally and go from a flat space to think into a 3D space. So yeah, Gundams are building model kits, period, are a big part of my childhood. And I still do it to this day when I get really bored and I have to sit still for a long time. It's probably one of the few things I can sit still for a long time for.
It's very cool, and I really see every time when I see those things. But it's something that you need to get from your youth. You know, it's a what was that? Yeah. What? So it's were your parents, but what keep you interested in those things? Was it because it?
Well, I think it really started much earlier for me. You know, in terms of drawing, even before Gundam and plastic model kits, we had Legos. You know, Legos is something that I grew up playing with a lot too. So I think I was always just a natural in terms of drawing and then building things and putting things together. And then I think as I got older, both of those skills just kind of fused together, especially when, I went to design school and they kind of forced you to draw something and then make something and then, draw it on paper, but bring it to life too.
It's, for me, it's always staying amazing, Eric. It's like how creative you are in your mind, because I'm really jealous about those things. It's positive jealous. So how does that mind work? I mean, your background is actually really from the art world, but how does it work? Tell me the difference between how you think to adapt a thing than how I do it. I mean, it's because maybe I always see it only as an end product, but how do you start from scratch to a product? How does that work in your mind?
Well, I think a lot of people think that when you design something, that you just aim for the bullseye right off the break. Real design, and it's different from art. Art and design are two different things. I consider myself a little bit of both. I'm an artist, but I'm also a designer. And an artist is expression, whereas design is problem solving. So to answer your question about where we start with something, obviously we want something to look really good, but we also want it to solve a problem or be an end product that is a solution for something that either no one has ever done before or just something that people have a really hard time or a challenge to get over. And that can be anything, whether it's airsoft, whether it's, video games, or even designing something as simple as like a set of headphones or earphones or a water bottle. It's the same thing.
Are you still active in the designing world? Are you still active in there?
Yeah, I mean, I have clients that I've worked with for decades, decade plus, and there's a few people that I still will work with. Obviously, I do a little bit less of that now because, I have my own business with SpeedQB, and like that's the space where I'm able to I don't have to like take direction from people anymore, and like it's something that I'm more passionate about, is like just creating and overseeing something as opposed to working for a client and doing what they want me to do, But of course, I'll still do it if they pay me well enough. So yeah, if they pay me well enough, I'll do it. That's what it is at this point. Yeah, because I have very little time to work on other people's visions. Yeah, and other people's goals. I'd rather work on my vision, my goal, and our vision.
I remember one thing, Eric. I remember I never forget first the face. I never forget I was very tired. You were very tired. I never forget our first meeting in Bunde in the Netherlands, where you were landed, where you had a long trip behind you, and it doesn't matter how late it was. I think it was somewhere in the middle of the night.
4 a.m.
It was 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
And you came in with Demo, and you came in the arena, and it was still not finished. It was not completely finished. But in that moment, that thing in your eyes, it was something like this was something in my mind that really came to reality. I mean, was that proud, or what was that? What was that? I mean, for me, it was very, very humble. And to be honest, I felt that you were very humble, and it was like that was something that came out. I don't know how, as an emotional thing that really get to me. Yeah. What was that feeling?
You know, it wasn't my first time seeing something that I drew or something that I thought of come to life. But I think the difference was that this is very personal in that no one really told me, hey, Eric, I want you to do it like this. I want you to do it like that. There was nobody really telling me to do anything. It was just something that I knew would make sense. You know, I drew upon my experience having played paintball and having been in the airsoft industry for at least, at that point, I think I had been playing airsoft for 9 years at that point. So it was kind of just like the first time where in airsoft, or one of the very few times where something that I saw in my head, and along with someone like you who shared a vision, we were able to collaborate together, work on it together, and bring something to life that nobody had ever seen before. And that's what was significant, in that we were first, right? Like we were that was my first time seeing it. Obviously, you had been working on that for, I think, at least 9 weeks since you returned to Bund from Los Angeles back in 2018. And I was just so impressed because of the amount of time that it took, you know. It almost seemed like it happened overnight. Like I'd met you, and the next thing you know, I'm on a plane with Demo, and we land, and like you said, it was hell to get there. We ran into a lot of hiccups and a lot of speed bumps, but when we finally got there, it was almost like I was so tired, but it felt like a relief because it was like a big payoff. You know, we had landed and we get to see this beautiful field. And I knew that I had to go back to the hotel and sleep for a few hours and come back the next day. And, you know, and
I remember
see how the event went.
We had a beautiful event. I mean, I know that, but what I remember too, and that's something, the last day, I drove you the day after. I drove you to the airport with Demo, and we had a good talk in the car. And on that moment, it was just that what I remember was something in your mind was like a click. It was just there was something in sleeping, and I hoped something woke up there, and I really saw it because we had a very good, deep conversation there. And if that didn't happen to you, I mean, was that the thing that needs to make you active again, or just I really, to be honest, it's like the experience I had with you in the car. It was really like, I'm so happy I saw it, and I'm so happy that we do, and we're going for it now. That's what you said. That was, Bert, we're going for it. When I'm back in LA, I'm going by my drawing board, and we're going. And I was surprised when you're saying that. You know, I was like, is this making it happen, or was that just the moment where you say, okay, this is the thing that I needed to say, let's go now?
Well, I guess the story that a lot of people don't know, prior to, you know, when we met in Bunda and like before that last car ride we had, you know, I was kind of in a place where I was limited in what I could do in terms of airsoft. It was about a 1.5 to 2 year ordeal. I had a family member, which is a dog, who's very sick. So a lot of my time and effort and heart was spent on that, you know, for about 1.5 years, because pretty much like taking care of a sick child that you knew was gonna pass. So for a year and a half, 2 years, my wife and I were dealing with that, and we were trying our best to focus on our careers as well. But it was very taxing on my soul and on my emotions. So I wasn't exactly as focused as I could have been. Don't get me wrong, I was still very focused, but I wasn't able to put 110% into something. And usually that's what I do. I'll give my life, my blood, my sweat to something when I want to pursue something. And the problem was that family was a priority for me at the time. But I can't deny my goals and my passion. And I felt very limited. But, that ordeal, as tough as it was, it passed. And I was able to go, because I wasn't able to travel for 2 years because, I had to stay in LA. And going to Netherlands that was the first time I was able to go anywhere for a very long time. So yes, it did activate something in me. It did wake something up in me because I knew there's nothing in my way anymore. Not that, the family wasn't in my way, but it's like, that's my priority now. And I did flip a switch in my mind, knowing that like, this is what we're doing now. I have to put my mind to it. And it's not the first time in my life where I had to do that and focus like that. And I know how to turn that switch on, and the timing was right. And that talk that you and I had in the car, I'd share with you. I used to have people in my life that would guide me and lead me towards, goals in my life. But for a very long time, and I guess it's part of growing up where you don't have anybody telling you, hey, you should do this and you should do that. And this ties into a lot of stuff that I want to talk about too, in that it's very hard in your life to find positive influences or people that are able to put a fire under your ass. And I think that's when I realized that you're one of those people. And I shared with you that I didn't really have anybody like that. The one mentor I did have, he was killed not too long ago. Well, it's been 11 years now. So I shared that with you, and that my mentor died. And so that talk I had with you was very comforting for me to know that I guess I had somebody next to me that had more life experience than me, that was able to kind of give me motivation and I'm hearing it from somebody that I know understands life and understands that what goals are and what passion is. And you gotta have, like you said, like I learned from that you're the type of person that you just gotta say you're gonna do it, have the balls to do it, and just do it. So that's what I got from that conversation. And that's what I need to be reminded of, because I guess that's what I identify with you as well, Bert, and that I'm that kind of person too. But sometimes things, they get in the way. And that conversation unlocked that for me.
That was the feeling that I'm trying to get. It's like, and again, thank you for being open that day, because it helped me too. To get my focus on the right way and to make this as a success. And you just need to know, sometimes you just need to know the pain and the experience to go further with some things. And I really saw that was the day for both of us. And again, thank you for sharing that day, because it was not only a release for you, but it was for me too. And there was no better situation than that hour, 2 hours in the car to understand each other more than we did. I mean, that whole weekend, but that 1.5 hours, that was, I think we never came that close as that moment. That was.
Yeah, it was funny too, because like it was me, you, and Demo in the car, but
Demo was sleeping.
So like, and obviously it's a very emotional moment because it's the car ride to the airport, right? We were so busy during that event, ensuring that everything went smoothly. And even though we were in the same building, you and I had very few time to talk. And even when we had dinner later after the second night, I was so tired. I remember falling asleep at the table. So, that was actually the first moment we had to talk, was actually on the car ride for me and Timo to go back to Los Angeles. So yeah, it was a very profound moment for me. And, I think that's the 1 hour where you and I got to understand each other a little bit better. And I think what my takeaway from it was that you and I, even though we are from a different place, we're very similar, in some ways.
Definitely. And that's something that is hard to explain to people. It's like, I don't know Demo, sorry, I don't know Sapo / I don't know Eric, but I know Eric because it's I understand sometimes the reaction and that kind of things. And I think you know that from me too. And that's what you're trying to say is like you and I, we are actually more the same because I think in some ways we are two perfectionists and we have a goal and we're not happy if it's not succeeded. And we're talking about quality and we never talked about quantity. We're talking about goals and if even it's that far away, it's not good enough. And that's cool. That's good. So just to see, I understood everything in the last year that happened in the last 1.5 years because we had some bumps in the last 1.5 years, definitely. But I know sometimes there is some emotional things on Instagram or everything. But every time I know where you're coming from. Some people don't know that. And that's actually a little bit more of that Eric is that it's not only always the creator and who wants to own that thing is the person who's just feeling heard, that if you come to that person and talk to him, you can come much more further than doing things. And that's actually that Eric that I know, because there's a beast in you. There's a big beast in you. And if you dare him, I mean, you're coming out stronger. But I like to dare that beast. I like that because that's something that we need to do more, Eric, in the future. We need to do this more. It's especially you. And I mean, people think you are sleeping, and I know you didn't sleep. It's like, but you just need some food. So, and now you're getting hungry. So and
I mean, like for me, I'm just that whole ordeal with whatever drama was going on social media about. I don't even want to really address it anymore because
no, don't worry. That's it. Forget the past.
At the end of the day, I'm big on respect. That's really what it boils down to. And like you said, like I'm the type of person that if I'm challenged, you better be ready for what's going to come next, because I don't take challenges lightly. I'm the type of person that even though if I achieve a goal, it sounds really sick sometimes. And I have been thinking about this a lot recently. And it's happened multiple times in my life where even if I achieve a goal, I'm still not satisfied. And once I get there, I'm already thinking about what's next. And it's almost like you said, like it's a perfectionist mentality in that it's never enough just to accomplish a goal. Never enough just to chase a dream and then like make the dream a reality. What happens next after the dream's a reality? What people don't realize or what they don't understand is that dreams are great. It's great to have many dreams. But once that dream becomes a reality, that's when it's a different monster, It's like raising a child. You can't just say, okay, well, he's born or he or she's born, and then that's it. You have to maintain it, and things change, and you have to change with it, and you have to adapt. And there's just as I've gotten older, like through my life experiences, everything starts to make a little bit more sense now. But yeah,
I know
it's a very complex thing that I want to say, and I guess I'm trying to find the context to bring it out in.
So, but let's make it simple. What are your remaining? What are your goals what are your goals in the next years as a creator, as a designer?
Big picture wise, like I just want to maintain my position in the industry, and I want to bring people along with me that were supporting from day one. and people that understand that this started from absolutely nothing. This started from, just a couple friends. And I want people to understand that this started from a bunch of people that just needed something to do after work. And I just want to, big picture wise, I want to keep it going, but I want to be the lead. I want us to be the leader forever, and I understand what that takes. More specifically though, in terms of like small picture stuff, like, I want to make the same impact that we did 4 or 5 years ago with our products. I've been around long enough to know that you can be comfortable and rest on your laurels because you have a very great product. And I've seen it happen before in other industries. And you can see it in, industries such as video games, like Call of Duty, for example. In my opinion, they're comfortable. They don't have to do anything different. And they're still who they are. But sooner or later, someone's going to catch up. And that's happened before, My biggest analogy for that is where Call of Duty was, and then a game like Battlefield, it's like the impact that had, where the developers of Call of Duty knew that there was a competitor on their ass, and I just want to be the first to, I want to make a new belt that exceeds the lifespan and the expectations of MBS 1. I want to make the first, truly dedicated SpeedQB gun. There's a lot of small goals that I have. It's just the big picture, short answer to that is like, I want to take this to the next level, Bert. And I think, you are on the same page. And there's very few people in this space that I consider to be leaders with a lot of followers. And I think all the leaders are now in the right place, kind of like this little mafia that we got going on now.
Let's change the world. Let's change this little world. That's actually and that's the thing that has to do with passion, and that's why I respect you a lot. And not only you, I mean, a lot of people don't know it, and I think he deserves to be on this episode of Eric Sapo. And that's Ramon. Actually, Ramon is nobody's talking about Ramon, but Ramon is actually your right, left hand, everything, and it all started with him. Tell me how it started with him. I mean,
man,
yeah,
it's crazy because Ramon's probably one of the few people that I've been friends with, like, in terms of like, I moved around a lot, so it's very hard to maintain relationships with people. But Ramon has been in my life we met when we were 23 years old. So I don't want to give away too much about how old I am, but we've been friends for a very long time. And we met when we were both aspiring designers. We were both just students, design students. And we met because we were both teaching art to kids. We were like art teachers, and we were both also going to university at the time studying. He's studying graphic design. I was studying concept design and illustration. But we also shared many other passions. We were both very into hip hop. At that time, we both of us wanted to be rappers. I don't know if you guys knew this about me and Ramon, but like rap, hip hop and rapping, and like all the elements of hip hop were a very big part of our life, and that's where we found common ground. It wasn't really until later that we just shared many similarities, we both grew up single parent, raised by our moms. Our dads both took off, and there's just a lot of parallels in our lives. And I was able to look in the mirror when I was with him, so that's really, people don't really know too much about him. He's a very behind the scenes kind of guy. I'm more comfortable showing my face and talking to the public. But a lot of what we're doing, even SYG, And then later on with SpeedQB, that's only the result of that Ramon asking me a few questions. You know, like I just did what I did naturally, and I wanted to do this because it was fun. But Ramon's the kind of guy where his mind's always turning, you know, and even though we're both creatives, he's the more business savvy between him and me. And I guess like the vision and like the creative stuff and the knowledge, because I had been in paintball before. And a lot of what I learned from paintball when I was very young, I brought that into what we do now. And he was just picking my brain one day, and he's like, "Hey man, what if we held an event, you know?" And that's what started, you know, SpeedQB Sundays and SpeedQB Invitationals, even before there was any tournaments. And it's a really long story, and it's hard to tell because like here we are 11 years later, you know, what started as Ramon and Ramon's brother Roy and Ramon's roommate at the time, Lyndon, aka Lefty, and me. That's where we started with SYG, and it's crazy because time really flies. You know, like you blink your eyes, and then like you're kind of where you are now, and like unless you really think about it, you forget how you got here. So I make sure that from time to time I really check myself and say, how did we get here? You know, and I really try to go back in the time machine that's in my head, and I try to humble myself. And like this started from a time where people were trying to stop us from doing this. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. People did not want SpeedQB to happen. And it took the effort of, you know, a lot of the teams locally and some field owners to understand that this is really a force to be reckoned with. And long story short, here we are today.
He's one of the driving forces in SpeedQB, and nobody knows it. And he's such a perfectionist too, but he's such a good guy. And you two together, I understand he's everything that you're not, and you are everything that he's not. You know, you're yin and yang. You're that's the only thing that I want to say.
I mean, I used to think, and I think maybe for a short time I used to think we were both like very alike. But, you know, we both, you know, even though we were friends for a very long time, our career paths are much different. And, you know, obviously we both grew in different ways, but we still maintained, and I know to this day, we don't forget who we used to be. And that's important. You can never forget where you come from. You can never forget where you started, because if you do that, you lose your identity and you lose your sense of self. And, you just become something else that you have no roots, you know? And roots to me are very important, because I can honestly say I don't really have any. So once you finally find that, you know, the people that you know are going to be with you for the rest of your life, you gotta value that relationship, and you have to, like, you know, it's hard. It's really hard to, you know, as people get older, they get married, you know, people have children and families, you know, at one point in our lives, we're saying like, we're family, we're brothers, you know, and that doesn't change, but things different as you get older, you know, and I'm sure you understand that as well. You know, like it happens to everybody, and I'm blessed to have, you know, someone in my life like Ramon, and, you know, he's probably, you know, he was at my wedding, he was one of my best men. I don't have a best man. I don't believe in that. He's one of my best men, and he's still here. So it says a lot, you know.
That's it.
So yeah, for people who don't know him, without Ramon, there would be none of this either.
That's it, 100%. Because when Ramon wasn't there, I wasn't doing this. So I really mean, I know he will never come into one of the Bert To The Bones, because I think he's too shy to do it, or he wants to stay in the background.
No, Ramon's not shy.
No, he's not shy. That's true. No, he's not shy, but he's not the person who's sitting down and telling his life. You know, but I think he's always in the background, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. He deserves to be known, because he's such a force behind SpeedQB, and I know that he's a very important person in this for you too. And he's, as I said, he's the yin and the yang. You are the yin and the yang. But this is a nice bridge to my next question, Eric. Nobody knows actually, because we all, as you know, SYG is the one of the biggest names on SpeedQB teams in the world, but nobody actually knows how it started. And where did SYG started? How did it start? How, I mean, and yes, there was one more questions after that, but tell me, us.
It really just started because the name or the team itself?
No, the name, that's my second question.
Gotcha. Okay, so the team just started because let's rewind a little bit. So before Airsoft, you know, going back to when me and Ramon first started hanging out, I was a paintballer, hardcore, meaning that I played paintball. It's not just a hobby. Like, I really consider that to be my lifestyle. And it was around the same time that I was going to design school. And like, in order for me to tell the origins of SYG, I have to explain my history as a paintballer, because I belonged to a team that felt very similar to SYG when I played paintball, you know, and that team was called Thug Life. This is when I was like 20, 21 years old. I was a kid, but I came up with this team, and it was like very much like a family. And, you know, actually, no, I don't want to like have such a long-winded, it's a very long-winded answer. So I'm going to shorten the answer. SYG was just a couple of friends, you know, and we started playing locally at a field. And even though we were beginners, there's already people that were around. There was already, you know, Figgy was already around. Sosa was already a little kid playing. ML was already around. So there's already all these players that have been playing for a very long time. We showed up. And I think what happened was that we came out of nowhere and we started destroying people. And of course that, you know, people noticed that. And there's a few teams that wanted to challenge us and say, hey, let's play, you know, team versus team. And I come from a background where, like, you know, for lack of a better way of saying it, Bert, like when I was a teenager, when I was in my young adulthood, I was basically gangbanging, you know, like my sport, you know, I know you listen to all the Bert To The Bones in the past. You ask people, where's your origin in sport? My origin in sport was gangbanging. You know, I was really in the streets doing stuff like this. And that's where I learned about rivalry and competition, my group versus another group. And whenever I'm challenged that way, like, it sounds weird and really funny, but, you know, when I'm challenged, I treat it like war. I treat it like it's not just a sport. I treat it like this is life and death. This is like serious. Like, it's either I'm going to get my ass kicked and my reputation, there's a reputation at stake, and I'm not going to allow that to happen. So that's really how the team formed, in that we were playing so well against these guys that had been playing for so long. And I think they wanted to really see what we're about. Like, maybe they're cheating, and it's about respect. You know, I wanted to earn the respect. And I think in a very short period of time, we were able to do that, you know, as just a bunch of guys that just showed up to play casually. I was the only guy with any like paintball experience. Everybody else was just, you know, wanted to have some fun. And, that's really how the team started. Just a bunch of friends, and all these teams started challenging us, and we rose to the occasion. We answered the challenge, and we earned the respect of the people that were at that field.
So that was the start.
That's how I remember.
That was the start of SYG. And now we're going, okay, when did SYG really became a name in the SpeedQB world, or / where did it really started off to be SYG where it is now?
Well, you know, it kind of started with, all I had to do was buy one GoPro. And we had a team of 4 guys sharing one GoPro, and we'd take turns wearing them. And I can't really go into too deep about where the origins of the team name came from. That's really a secret that only the members know. But I will say that it came from, it started off as a joke, and it came from ridicule, people making fun of us. That's where the team name came from. And I'm not going to go into too much about what it means or what it stands for. But I think we started getting recognition because, we started playing because we're passionate. We also saw that on YouTube, there's a lot of airsoft content, but I felt like there was something missing. And the style of gameplay that we brought to the table, I don't think anybody, not that nobody was doing it. I think it's something that a lot of people wanted to do, but they were either just afraid to do it or they just weren't able to find a way to do it creatively. And I think it's just the perfect storm of people that we had. Me and Ramon being creative people. Roy, was the guy that had a lot more patience and was able to sit down and edit videos. And of course, Lefty being an awesome player, very athletic guy. And I think how we got noticed was our content and the videos that we were putting out. And there was this show back in the day. It was called Seraphim Airsoft Top 5. And every week we would be in the top 5. This show would vote us being like the top airsoft content on YouTube of the week. And we just realized, like, if this is what people see in us, like, this is what we should be doing. And it's hard to remember everything, Bert, but like, I think what happened was we just started meeting the right people at the field. Like, a lot of people don't remember this. Maybe the people in Europe don't know this story, but outside of the original 4 members, me, Ramon, Roy, Lyndon, the next 2 pickups were very crucial in that we met SpeedQB Russian and we met Pirate, and most of all, Maggot. Now, Maggot back then, if there's one way I can describe him, he's the first Union Young. Maggot was the first kid on the block. We met Maggot when he was 16 years old. And he's arguably the best editor in the game. And as soon as we picked him up and he started editing videos, that's when I feel like it took off. And I think he doesn't get the credit for that. A lot of people don't know that those edits, the most famous edits that we've ever done, were a result of Maggot and Roy.
Shout out to those 2 guys.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure everybody gets the credit they deserve. SpeedQB Russian, Pirate, they're a little bit older now. They're not really in the scene, but they were crucial into what a SpeedQB team looks like. Because before us, no one adopted the system of like front players, back players. I'm confident to say that we were the first team to put that kind of like team play into action. People were just running around, just playing SpeedQB before. Whereas we were the first team to be organized like that. I like to, describe our style as organized chaos, meaning it's very chaotic, it's very aggressive, but we're very organized as well. So it's like your most dangerous street gang backed by an organized crime organization. It's kind of like that. I like to describe our style as that. We're crazy, but we're also very
rebellion.
Cerebral. Rebellious, but we're also very cerebral, and like we know how to think. Yeah. And we're very. People think that we're an aggressive team, but I think we're the best blend of aggression and.
That's true, but on the field, you really look. How the way SYG plays, it looks very aggressive. I mean, no doubt.
Yeah.
I think now I really can see some difference in the last. I mean, I'm not here for 10 years in this SpeedQB world, but I know the difference now between aggressive team, defensive team, offensive, and you are definitely, as SYG, one of the most aggressive teams in the world. But you're right. Maybe it looks more aggressive than it is. That's actually what you're trying to say. It's more thought of, it's more there, but it looks so freaking aggressive, and I love it. I love to see that. So I know,
and I think the style, our style has changed a lot, and it's through our experiences too. Originally, yes, we were very, very aggressive, and we had to learn. Especially when SpeedQB started and it got competitive, we had to learn how to play against different types of teams and play against different styles. And even though we're aggressive, I kind of always, and that's why I kind of call, I've always been like, even though I practice something, I also preach it, whether it's an art, I'm a practitioner, but I'm also a teacher. In airsoft, I'm a player, but I'm also a coach. And that means I have to think with different brains,
What do you love more? What do you love more, Eric? What do you love more, being a player or a captain?
I honestly love being a player more. I have a love and hate relationship with being a coach. It's because, sometimes I honestly believe that like I'm a born leader, right? Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can realize that. And not everybody embraces that role. Even though people are born for it, it doesn't necessarily mean that they want to do it all the time, but they understand that it's a responsibility and they need to do it. So I love being a coach because it's rewarding. It's rewarding to see the players that I've kind of took under my wing. All the new guys, Demo Sosa, Marty Dom, Fab, DJ, even some of the older OG guys. Like I don't consider myself having been a coach before, but I was a captain before. So like I've had to change my role so much that it's hard. Everything's blurred together. But to answer your question, like when I was a player, I really loved it. When I was a captain, I embraced it too. And now that I'm more of a coach, I embrace that role as well. And I don't know. I don't know if I love one more than the other. I think I'm all those things.
I think you're still too much player to being a coach in your head. That's what I think. And I think that you are already, because a lot of people embrace you as a man and as a coach, because not a lot of people has the tactical vision as you had. There are only a few people who has that, in this sport, and you're definitely one of them. And
you could probably count them on one hand. Like the people who are really have a tactical mind for this kind of game. Like you need to have the experience, there's only a few people.
There are only a few. So, and I understand that the most people are maybe in the same age as you are, and they're going to be the biggest coaches in the next coming 10 years. I'm definitely know that, because these are the people who are making the young guys. Because man, I saw him playing once, but you took some new people in your team like DJ. Everybody's scared about DJ. Everybody's scared. I asked three people, who's your nemesis? They all said DJ. So I said, oh man, and actually over here, nobody knows DJ. I saw him playing because I was there. I was last year, 2 years ago. Man, time flies. I was 2 years ago. I was in Project One, and he had his shirt. And yes, he's great. But tell me, that thing. I mean, where do you find the talent? You have to have a brain to find that talent.
It's hard to explain, right? It's kind of like I think it has a lot to do with life experience. I've led people in different capacities, so I've seen different personality types, and like I can read character pretty well, I think. And I'm sure you understand this too. As you get older, you just know sometimes within a few interactions with somebody who they are and who they can be, or how they're trying to portray themselves and who they really are. I can kind of see through it. And with DJ, he's not a loud guy. He's very quiet. And like they say, it's always the quiet ones you got to worry about. So I recognize that immediately. I only had to see him play a few times. He's been on a few teams. I saw him bouncing around from team to team, never really settling down. And I guess what I got from that was that he wasn't satisfied with where he was. And here's the thing. When I look for players, I look for all the guys that are on a team. I see a little bit of myself in them. That's where it comes from. I can name every single characteristic of every single person on the team that reminds me of either my younger self or where I was at one point in my life, or even like, so I can see it, and DJ is just, he has the paintball pedigree, and for someone like me who has that background as well, I respect anybody who plays with no consideration of their body. People who throw themselves against the ground and like give it 110, 150%, limping off the field, and not really complaining about the pain, playing through it. Because to me, that's a fighter. That's somebody who's not just strong physically, but somebody that has the mental strength too. And that's what I saw in DJ. And you can see the evidence, Last time you could probably see how much of a demon that guy is when the team went to Oregon early 2020, or when you see DJ play when we went to Capitol Edge in Sacramento last October. So there's a reason why people are, three people have said that he's a beast, and I'm just glad we picked him up.
So this is not, yeah, this is not a question to be unpolite to people or something like that, but and please don't get me wrong, but it's just an idea. But how long does it take that a guy like Union Young, does he belong in SYG? Does he belongs to SYG?
Well, I feel like someone like Union Young, it's so early for him that I don't know. Like I don't know how I would feel if I was that young and I started, like if I've really found myself yet, But someone like him on SYG, like I don't know, because like number one, we have a very strict rule in that you can't really be part of SYG unless you're of a certain age, and that's because of the certain things in our team lifestyle that we do that we're not going to bring kids around. Like I'm very mindful of influence. And I think it's important for somebody to find themselves first and grow up a little bit before they can be a part of something like what we do. If your question is, does someone like Union Young belong in SYG? Play style wise, a player like him, anybody that plays like him, I think I can mold them into becoming like anything. And like, just, I don't know how to say machine, because the machine doesn't think for themselves necessarily. Just somebody who I can mold someone like that into somebody who can be a team player, but can also handle business on their own on the field.
I understand.
Yeah. And like just talking about Union Young personally, like I think I can be. I can say that I'm the first one that I called that kid the future.
Man,
You know, because like there are other people that are kind of close to his age, but there's no other player that plays and has the ability to learn. Because I've stopped before and I watched him play, and I coached him off to the side a few times, and he just nods his head and goes, yes, yes, yes. And then I see him play the next time, and I see him doing it. I don't need to go, hey, thanks for listening to me. I just acknowledge, okay, he listened. So that's somebody who has the ability to learn. Some people don't know how to learn. Some people think that, oh,
yeah, that's true.
Someone called me the future. Oh, I don't need to listen to anybody. So I think this is a part of anybody like him who's skillful but still humble will go a long way in this sport.
I believe that. I think we're going to hear a lot of guys like Union Young, but there is actually one more question about SYG, because does every member of SYG knows where SYG stands for? Because I know you're not going to tell me, but does every member knows where SYG stands for?
No, some of the younger guys, they don't know.
Okay. It's a pity, because I want to sign up then, because I want to know.
Yeah, I think some of them might know, but we also joke around with them so much about what it really means that maybe they don't really know. It's almost not even important what it stands for. I mean, I think SYG, just the name, it's a metaphor for something else. The words, the letters, doesn't really mean anything. When you see that logo, when you see the old logo, when you see the new logo, that's a metaphor for a spirit. It's a metaphor for an energy. It's not like a literal meaning.
It's yeah,
it's very cryptic.
It's not a brand. It's more cryptic. That's what I'm. That's what you're trying to say.
It's coded. It's very coded, and that's just something else that me and Ramon really like. We're very into like the underworld and subcultures, and we like to keep certain things hush hush. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
It's very Eastern thing, you know. It's like talking about that. I mean, it's like Eastern people. I mean, getting trust from Eastern people is not easy. I mean, my whole life, and you guys are very close. I mean, and you're Korean. Ramon is Korean too.
I'm not Korean. Ramon's Korean.
Ramon is Korean. Sorry. Again, you're Taiwan.
Yeah, I'm Chinese Taiwanese. Yeah.
Yeah, you're Taiwan. That's it. Taiwan Chinese. So
yeah.
Do you still have strong connections to your roots?
Oh yeah. I mean, this is a long story, but I was born in California, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm part of that generation that still grew up. I'm first generation Asian American, meaning my parents immigrated to the United States in the late. I don't even remember, to be honest, when they immigrated. Probably during the 70s. My dad went to college out here. He went to Indiana University and USC. My first time going to Taiwan, I was 3 years old, so I don't remember that much. But there's certain memories that I have in my head that don't go away. You know, when you're very young, you have these pictures and like videos that play back in your head. And I've always been like very in tune with that. And, you know, I grew up speaking my natural language in the household. I had to speak Chinese. Amongst my family members, I wasn't allowed to speak English. If I start speaking English, they'll say, speak Chinese when you're in this house. So I have a very strong tie to my roots. When I was a kid, I kind of didn't appreciate it. You know, I thought, oh, I'm American. I want to be American. But as I got older, I started really appreciating my culture, and I became very in tune with it. So the second time I went back to Taiwan, and I shared with you before, my father wasn't in my life when I was growing up, but when I was 13, that was when I first went to go see him again for a very long time. And I got really in touch with my roots. And my dad, you know, kind of told me about my background, where I'm from. I always thought that I'm Taiwanese, but like very complicated in that a lot of Taiwanese people are from China. And a lot of people identify as being Taiwanese. My mom's side of the family, they identify as Taiwanese, strict. We're from Taiwan, and that's it. my dad identifies from, being from China, having to flee China during the war, and coming over here during the Cultural Revolution. And he immigrated to, his parents immigrated to Taiwan, and my dad was born in Taiwan. So there's multiple levels of like cultural identity, and it's very confusing to figure out. But I figured I was educated about it from a very young age. And after I came back from Taiwan when I was 13, I came back to America with a very strong sense of identity, with a very strong sense of pride of being an Asian American. And this is a very long story. I want to very thoroughly explain why I'm proud of my culture. That was the summer before going to high school. And when I went to high school, I tried to do the regular thing. I wanted to play high school sports. I knew I wanted to become an artist at some point already, but like I said, I had just gotten mixed up with some troublemakers, and I thought that was cool. I grew up in the 90s. Everybody was kind of like a wannabe gangster. Everybody wanted to gangbang, and it was just very, very like that at that time in American history. Mm-hmm. And there was also another, there's different groups, in the 90s where you were hanging out. If you were Asian, you hung out with the Asians. If you were Mexican, you hung out with the Mexicans. If you were black, you hung out with the, with the black people. And it was all very segregated. And if you add, gangsterism on top of that, there's a lot of violence around that too. And there's a lot of racism and a lot of pride, racial pride that ties into that too. So yeah, that's kind of like my, cultural identity wise, like I learned it in a hard way, I guess. But that's pretty much, yes, I am very in touch with my with my culture and my background. Yeah,
and you have to be proud of that, man. You never forget where you're coming from. I mean,
it wasn't always the most positive way of learning it, but
why not? Why not? Yeah. Well, I mean, why not? I mean, as I said last week, I said it's like we didn't know what was happening, what's going on in the US. But I mean, being now an Eastern person in America is very hard. And I saw it on your post and everything. I mean, you're an American. I mean, you were born and raised in America. You actually, till you were 13 years old, you felt like an American and not felt like an Eastern or Taiwanese or Chinese. I mean, where is the respect? And that's what I'm trying to say is like, be proud of where you come from. I mean, you always stay where your roots are, and we're all born on the same way. We're all born on the same way. And what's happening now, I think it's unbelievable. And
I mean, maybe to the world, it seems like it's something that's happening now. And I know I said I felt like an American up until I was 13, but honestly, here's the significance of why I consider growing up in New York so important. It's because in New York, it's a melting pot, right? And where I lived, also a lot of different ethnic groups. Mm-hmm. So as American as I felt, I still understood and I still felt a difference, because where I lived in Queens, there was everybody. There was, European Americans. There were Jewish people. There were Puerto Ricans, African Americans, Asian Americans. Like, so I still felt a lot of that racism, and especially in New York. So to me, someone like me, this problem has always existed. It wasn't until recently that I felt like it went away after a while. Like, oh, maybe we're getting some acceptance now here in this country. But, ignorance has a way of finding a way of rearing its ugly head again periodically, and it comes in waves. That's
hard to hear, to be honest. It's like, I'm going to, my experience here, till 2 weeks ago, we had a demonstration over here for Eastern people. And before that, we have so many Chinese people living here, Eastern people living over here, but they're always under the radar. There is no racism to nothing to Chinese or Eastern people. And So it was for us. It's like I really don't understand why on this moment it really explodes out. So what you're saying now, Bert, this is not from now. This is already as long as I live in America. I mean,
I've witnessed it, when I was a kid. I'm not going to go into details, but I've witnessed things where Asian people tend to be very quiet. They tend to keep to themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
When I grew up, I knew that I was not going to be like that. I share a little story about myself. The very first time, and one of the first times anybody was hateful towards me, or even remotely racist towards me, I was 9 years old. I'm in a schoolyard, and no one ever told me to do this. No one ever told me, Eric, if someone ever gives you problems, you got to stand up for yourself. And, he hurled the kid. He just said some racist stuff to me, and boom, something inside me snapped. I punched him in the face. And it was my first time, number one, first time punching anybody in the face. Wouldn't be the last time. But it was the first time where I understood I had to stand up for myself. And as I got older, I also realized not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the balls, or not everybody has the courage to stand up for themselves. So for a long period of my life, I spent some energy standing up for people that I knew were not, courageous or physically strong enough to stand up for themselves. And those are my own people. So that also ties into the previous question. Like, I'm just very,
even there, even there. I mean, this is something that happened in the culture where you live for. As you say, it's from our own people. I could never think in a word like that, but I understand when you say it. You know what I'm trying? I understand when you say it, but I could never think in a way of that, because I don't see, as Bert, I don't see that in that way, because
sure,
it's now our own people. Is we are people, but maybe that has to do with culture or with. But I definitely understand. Understand.
Yeah. I mean, for me, maybe it's a little bit easier, right? Like I grew up speaking English. I have no language barrier, but I still remember that what my mom had to go through. My dad spoke really good English, so my mom never had to worry about that. My dad would always take care of everything. And when he left, she had to learn how to speak English better. She had to deal with people not being able to communicate with her. And I witnessed a lot of stuff, so maybe I didn't get the brunt of the hate because I could speak English, and maybe I didn't seem like a foreigner that much. Even though my face looks different, I still sound like everybody else. But I'll never forget the fact that I had to grow up with a parent who was an immigrant, and that's something I never forget. And that's something that I guess that's what
it's so
a big
hard.
Part of who I am.
Yeah, I want to quit with this because this is maybe too hard in this. But there's such a big difference, because in this moment a lot you have racism and you have discrimination, and I think there is that both are not done, nothing, but people really walking. I really have no idea where things are coming from, but racism is really something so stupid. Sorry, but maybe now I'm not making friends, but I think that's the most stupid thing, because I don't believe in racism. I don't believe in racists. I don't believe in race, because I really think that it doesn't matter how you look, how you smell, how you do. We are all there for the same purpose, and everything has to do with the country where you come from. If you are white, brown, yellow, it doesn't matter. Everything has a reason, and we are all explorers. As a Dutch person, we are very big explorers, and we came over all the world. That's the hardest thing in my life. If I want to go on a holiday, it doesn't matter. In the smallest country in the world, I always hear a Dutch person there, because we are explorers. But I hate it that people put themselves in that cage, like, and that's my problem with it. It's like,
yeah,
Yes, it's such a hard political thing now, so I don't want to go too far in that. The only thing I know is I'm happy that you talked about it, and thank you for being honest in that way. And but everybody who's playing that same thing and game, shame on you, and I hope you really deserve that something happened in your life that you're gonna get and earn racism. That's what I'm saying. So
I mean, yeah, one of these days, you know, people like that, they mess with the wrong person.
That's it.
And that's it, you know. And I think that's, you know, what's great about what we're doing in terms of sport is it doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what country, color your skin. I think that's a metaphor. SpeedQB, again, what we're doing is a metaphor for like just a vision. You know, everybody wants to do the same thing, and it's a collective consciousness of like unity.